Okay, so I'll just run through what we're planning here. And for context, this is from Composable. Composable is a parachain that exists right now on the Kusama network under the name Picasso. Composable will be the name of our Polkadot parachain. And as just general context on the project itself, our main goal here is extending IBC outside of the Cosmos ecosystem. So we started out with connecting both Polkadot and Kusama over IBC, allowing users to transfer Polkadot between the Kusama relay chain and the Polkadot relay chain, as well as KSM Kusama itself as well. Right now, we're connected between Polkadot, Kusama, and most of the leading Cosmos app chains over there. So at the moment, what we're looking to do is kind of broaden the horizon of the reach of the DOT and KSM tokens themselves. And we're looking to do this through a treasury proposal, which would secure $1 million in DOT funding. And this is primarily going to be used to create liquidity pools amongst Osmosis and Astroport. So these are two of the leading dexes in the Cosmos ecosystem. And the goal here is to create liquidity so that we can become the quote unquote canonical bridge for DOT-based assets. Right now, most of these platforms use Axelar's wrapped DOT as the native DOT asset. And we're looking to bring these things over IBC and become the primary version there. So ideally, the process is going to go something like Treasury proposal, which we'll put up this week, looking to secure $1 million in DOT funding. At which point, governance proposals amongst both Osmosis and Astroport will move to on-chain voting for us to become the quote-unquote canonical version there. We'll look to create liquidity pools of DOT Osmo and DOT Neutron. Neutron is the smart contracting platform that Astroport is deployed on in Cosmos. This is a CosmWasm VM-based application. And at that point, once we've established liquidity pools, we'll look to broaden the horizon there across UMI, Mars, and Levana. UMI and Mars are both lending protocols within the Cosmos ecosystem, the two biggest that exist there right now. So allowing users to go ahead and bring DOT over into Cosmos and go ahead and lend those assets out and borrow against them, whether it be stable coins or something like Atom or Osmosis itself. This would then be enabled using DOT brought over through our IBC-based bridge called Centauri. And generally, the idea of this proposal is to kind of bring DOT and KSM into this ecosystem so that we can go ahead and get assets from Cosmos back out into Polkadot and Kusama. I think right now, the problem that we're primarily targeting is that Polkadot and Kusama have been heavily segregated amongst themselves, which hasn't really been an issue as things have been building. But what we would like to see is value brought back into the Polkadot and Kusama ecosystem. So some of the larger assets out in Cosmos right now are obviously Atom and its staked version, ST Atom, which is provided by the Stride app chain in the Cosmos ecosystem. So, I mean, to sum things up here, essentially, we have the bridge open. We'll be looking to acquire DOT and kind of proliferate this asset across the ecosystem and then encourage users to go ahead and bring their Cosmos-based assets back into Polkadot for use amongst parachains there. So this week, we'll be going ahead and posting this proposal on chain with the Polkadot Treasury. And I'm sure the folks hosting this call there can keep everybody up to date as far as this going live. And I think we can go ahead and touch base probably next week once this is actually on chain and let everybody know that this is actually going forward.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Joseph. That was a good overview. I would be having some questions, and so is Limo, or at least forwarding them. Perfect. So are you also getting liquidity from the Cosmos ecosystem? So the bridge is working, of course, to connect Polkadot and Cosmos, but are there any plans on, you already touched upon it, to bring Cosmos assets into Polkadot?
Yeah, definitely. So I can go ahead and speak first to what we've done as far as bringing assets to Cosmos, and then I'll go ahead and talk about a little bit bringing Cosmos assets back to Polkadot. So On our side, we're connected with most of the leading app chains across Cosmos right now. So you can go ahead and check out Osmosis and Astroport, and you'll see things like .USDC and KSM USDC pools over there. At the same time, we have governance proposals up amongst most of the lending platforms, Umi, Mars, Agoric, as well as right now we have a discussion with Osmosis for going ahead and making that canonical asset proposal like we discussed. On the Polkadot side, we've opened most pools with these assets that we support. So some things like ST Atom, Stargaze, you'll find these in our Pablo decks right now. And sort of the first steps in getting liquidity back to the Polkadot ecosystem has been enabling Cosmos-based incentives on Pablo. So the first iteration of that has been Stride incentives alongside Pika, our native token incentives, on the ST Atom dot pool on the Pablo DEX. Right now, we're in the process of completing a proposal and moving Stars incentives over to the Stars dot pool on the Pablo DEX as well. But these are kind of the first iteration of starting to get assets back onto Polkadot as we explore some kind of further options with parachains outside of ourselves as well.
Fair. Okay, that also covers one of the questions forwarded here. Another one is, why is this on Osmosis and not on Pablo, etc.?
So I mean, it is on Pablo right now. I mean, we have .Osmosis on Pablo, we have .Atom on Pablo, we have Staked Atom on Pablo. Some of these pools, it's a little bit lower on the liquidity side as we kind of go through the motions of getting this up for the first run. But we're definitely doing as much as we can in terms of getting everything enabled on the DOT side as well from what we can do.
Perfect. Yeah, so one of the questions that I had for this is there any utility for DOT existing right now in the Cosmos ecosystem that would make it feasible for people to take their DOT over there?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the utility that makes the most sense right now is simply liquidity provision on Osmosis. As far as Polkadot goes, Pika, Polkadot, and KSM. Essentially, the idea there is to get liquidity into the DEX so it can kind of enable further access for users. And I say that in the sense that, one, users on Cosmos can go ahead and acquire these tokens, and two, lending protocols have accessibility to liquidity within a DEX to go ahead and liquidate positions. So essentially, right now, we're pretty focused on just building the liquidity itself on Cosmos. And I think, as many people might know, and if you don't, Osmosis is leading DEX over there, so that's why we've been pretty focused on them. Astroport has been quickly building and growing as well, so that's kind of secondary to Osmosis. But right now, we have proposals up with Umi as a lending protocol to kind of go ahead and move forward in utility outside of just swaps itself. And we're also looking at getting up proposals with Mars protocol, another lender on Cosmos, to kind of proliferate that vision, if you will.
Yeah, sounds good. Let me play the devil's advocate right here. So being able to make a return on lending out my DOT on the Cosmos ecosystem sounds good to me, but why would I be in favor of funding $1 million worth of liquidity paired against Osmosis or Astroport?
Yeah, I mean, I think generally the point of view is this. In the Cosmos ecosystem, there's quite a bit of app chains. And I think right now what we've seen is a lot of the activity concentrated to just a few of those. So off the top of my head, I would go ahead and say Cosmos Hub, obviously, Osmosis, and Stride have generally been where most of the activity is within the Cosmos Hub. And I think in terms of attracting users outside of the Polkadot ecosystem, these are sort of the places that are most likely to kind of pick up those users and integrate them to, I guess, being a Polkadot user themselves. So Osmosis is sort of the place that you go ahead and find most assets in the Cosmos ecosystem. I would be surprised if you can't find everything there. So that's kind of been where we're targeting as far as most likely to pick up users that don't currently exist in the Polkadot ecosystem, that are pretty active with this stuff and would go ahead and maybe come back across.
I see. Yeah. Thanks so much, Joseph. Yeah, Rust, what do you think? Any comments, any thoughts?
Yeah, from my side, I really feel that the one of the main problem with the Polkadot ecosystem, this is very isolated from other chains, and to solve and bring some liquidity from different ecosystem, we need the bridge, and the bridge between Polkadot and Cosmos with the biggest total value locked ecosystem. This is very great for Polkadot. This is how I feel that very excited about this bridge between the biggest ecosystem that kind of solve the issue with the multi-chain. And yeah, it's already live. I really tried several times, and yeah, it's worked as expected, and it's very easy just to send the assets from Polkadot to Centauri. So this is kind of like a one place hub to move your assets from Cosmos to Polkadot and grab some liquidity from that biggest ecosystem. So yeah, this is very excited for me as for active user and active participant in the Dot ecosystem. So yeah, it's really cool.
All right, yeah, thanks so much. I'm personally of the belief that whenever there is a new protocol that is integrating Dot, there is a huge opportunity. Protocols are able to mint tokens more or less from thin air, and you can farm them if you're early. And if Dot is getting more and more integrated into early farming opportunities for any protocol, may it be lending, AMMs, etc., the more adoption, the better, the bigger the opportunities for Dot holders to farm a project early. So that is definitely something that I am personally very interested in. So yeah, sounds good.